Hi, I'm Juliana Poldi, your host for The Presence of Art, Energy, Healing, and Powerful Transformation. And today my guest is Bodhi Simpson. Bodhi Simpson is a licensed clinical professional counselor and a registered art therapist in the state of Maine. Bodhi has an art therapy practice in Waterville, Maine called Conscious Art Therapy, is the co-founder of Vast Horizons Center for Personal Growth in Brunswick, Maine, is a co-creator of Express Wellness Workshops, co-creator of Wisdom Journeys, and co-creator of the Self-Compassion Symposium held annually in Freeport. Bodhi is also a student at Wisdom University, working toward a PhD in Wisdom Studies. She provides individual and group sessions, workshops, trainings, and retreats locally, nationally, and internationally that incorporate creative expression and work with imagination, intuition, and metaphor. I love that. Welcome, Bodhi.
Thank you, Juliana. Thanks for having me.
So I'm really curious about metaphor, but first let's find out how you got into art therapy.
Yeah, so I feel like as a child, I always kind of was drawn to art and I enjoyed creating. It was relaxing for me. I had family members like my grandmother and my mom that used to like sit at the table with me and do art. And then what happened is, like for so many of us, life got really hard. And so I kind of went to this internal place where I wouldn't talk to anybody, but I would create art to express what was really hard. And then I would rip it up because I would feel super guilty about it. And I would hide it behind the little heater because I thought if my parents found it, I would be in so much trouble. But I did find now in reflecting that that was really healing for me just to be able to express it. And then what I would do is I would take time to dream and envision the friends that I wanted or the family that I wanted or the future that I wanted. And I would draw it. And I used to hang them up in my room and take time and build a relationship with my little friends that I made. And so it was already kind of a natural process. And I went to school to be a therapist. And when I was going for additional training for my master's, I had never heard of the field of art therapy before. I didn't even know it existed. And I stumbled upon it and I was researching it. And it is the combination of art and psychology and human development and just creativity. And I realized that it was like exactly who I was. It was kind of what my life had been. And so I feel like the first few years of school was really, I didn't really know what art therapy was because I had to go through the whole process of discovering for myself. But what I finally discovered is that I actually became what I needed as a child. So it's been a really cool journey just to come full circle and kind of discover who I am and understand that there are a lot of people out there that don't necessarily respect creativity or understand how healing it can be. And I'm so honored that my job is really to help people like regrow their connection and understand and just learn more about how to create freely and from a process versus like needing to have it be an end product that has to be displayed or sold. Yeah, so I feel like really my journey has been to learn how to be a guide to help people connect to their own imagery and gain wisdom from that.
I think it's fascinating that you discovered that at an early age and, took the negative situation out and then recreated a positive situation. I mean, that's what therapy's about today. That's what they're telling us, to use our imagination to create our...
I feel so fortunate. Yeah, because sometimes people don't have any tools. And I feel like for whatever reason, I had one. I didn't know how to really consciously use it at that time, but it was something to physically do,
Yeah, that's great that you had that intuition and you followed it, really.
Hey.
Yeah. So how can art help people become more conscious?
Well, my favorite two parts about art is one, that we can slow down and that we have something tangible to work with and do. So I work with a lot of people who are trying meditation or different mindfulness practices, but it's very, very hard for them to stay present. And so I really believe that using the art materials really allows us to slow down and be present with how we feel. We're expressing an invisible energy outside of us And then we can become conscious of the energy that's creating our lives. And there's something to be said about just staying with it. Like in talk therapy, a lot of times, or just in our lives in general, we tend to kind of stuff or dismiss the challenges, and we're not able to really stay and learn from them if we're not taking time to slow down. And so in creating, they come through you and you honor them. And as you honor them, they start to shift, and you can clear your mind and clear your heart. And then from a very neutral place, you can consciously vision new perspectives, kind of rise above challenges. And using art, you can try out new possibilities. You could see how that would feel. You can just allow thoughts to arise. And I guess mostly it's just spending time to be with the truth of how you're feeling and how you want to be feeling. And so for me, I work with a lot of people that they don't identify as artists. And I feel like if you can just learn the ways to be more self-compassionate and gentle, you can really find presence in anything that you do.
Yes. And that's the point of the summit, is to bring that awareness to our guests, that the presence that is available in that slowing down, right, in the creative process, right? So how can art enhance presence?
So because art is tangible, you can stay with your breath. You can stay in the flow state by staying present with the materials. You can practice connecting to the different colors. The colors affect your physiology, and sometimes you can smell the materials. It's it very much brings us into our bodies, gets us out of our heads. And I feel like that's a lot of what we need in this world, is just more people that are living in their bodies and from their hearts versus caught in the chaos. And so by the act of doing, you are being, I guess. By the act of doing, you are being. If that makes any sense. And you can grow that feeling and that experience using art. And then I guess the work is to, once you know that feeling, you can take it into your life in any situation. So it's a good starting point.
So, it would be good to give the guests a hands-on opportunity to, since we're speaking about it, and I just feel the energy of, I would like that slow down moment, and I think let's give them that opportunity. We have this time, and
sounds great.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you lead the way.
Okay, so let's practice stepping into a creative meditation together. I'm going to give you a little bit of a structure today, but the most important thing, first of all, is that you set up a space in your home or your office where you have materials that feel special. They don't have to be the most expensive, but maybe not the least expensive. Maybe at least Crayola. Sometimes materials, if people aren't familiar with art materials, they'll just buy like from the dollar store, and then they're not happy with what they create because it's not enhancing the flow. It's more just kind of wax that's breaking off. So find some materials that you like. I would encourage you to, the materials that enhance flow often easily are pastels, so chalk pastels, oil pastels, watercolor paint, any paints. If you want a little more control, you could work with pencil or with markers. But often when we're accessing this raw material, something to enhance the flow will help. And the other good thing about that is you have less control over what it looks like, which for some people can be very frustrating, but it helps you to get into the process. Because most often you're not going to be hanging these up in a gallery, these creative meditations. They may inspire other works, but they are more the raw, intuitive flow coming through. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through a process, and I will do it with you. Feel free to pause this video if you would like to engage in it actively while I'm doing this. And so the materials for today, I kept it simple. I have simple printer paper, but you might want to try this with different size papers, because sometimes whatever you're releasing may need big paper, may need big strokes, may need smaller paper. And then for today, I have simple chalk pastels that I got. I mean, it was probably like $4 for a package. So this doesn't have to be super, super expensive. And these have lasted me for probably a few years. So I guess the biggest thing also is just recognizing that you are worthy of your own healing and finding some tools that actually work for you. I find a lot of people feel guilty spending money on themselves or even taking time to do this. So the act of purchasing your materials can be a meditation. The setting of the space, I often light a candle or I have a little soft music. You want to get to a space where you feel safe, like nobody's going to barge in on you. If you do choose music, I recommend maybe music without words that is flowing. And often what I do is I take a moment, I close my eyes, and I breathe deeply till it almost hurts to breathe any deeper. Then I breathe down through my body. And I just take a moment and I connect to the truth of how I'm feeling. So I go within and I just notice where I might be feeling heaviness or tension. In this awareness, I might notice that I have a lot going on in my mind. And as I bring my awareness up to my mind's eye, I might ask myself if I can start to perceive a color or even a sense of what this energy might look like. It might have a motion to it, might be large or small. And then I open my eyes. And so just by bringing your awareness into your body and at the same time into your mind's eye, everything's in your awareness, it's activated. If you get a visual, usually it's pretty quick. And if you got nothing, that's fine. Because what's going to happen is you're going to take your color palette of paints or drawing materials. And the goal is to stay present in your body. So you're just going to simply choose colors that resonate with where you're at. And it's very much common to have many emotions at the same time. So you would pause your video right now, you would do your work. For me right now, I'm just going to briefly show you. These may take a little while, maybe as much as 3 minutes. They may take 3 seconds. The goal is to consciously release. Often people do this and they say, I don't know why I did this. There's no reason. I just chose the colors. But the truth is that whatever you choose, whatever colors you choose, whatever way you put them on the paper represents something about you. And so the work is, and this is what I missed when I was a child, is now you take the time and you be with what came from you onto the paper and you build a relationship with it. You allow the colors to communicate to you. And you mentioned metaphor earlier, and the way that we do this in art therapy is we connect to what it reminds us of. So the brown, as I was creating it, reminded me of like gunk and mud. And now that I see it, it also reminds me almost of like scratches. And we're just getting over an illness in my family, having sick kids and not being able to go to work, and just the heaviness that comes with not being able to control every illness all the time. And so as I'm holding my awareness of kind of the heaviness weighing me down, I just had to grab the vibrant yellow because I'm also honestly just so honored to be here today, just being with all of you and talking about this topic that is so incredibly important. And so just the simple act of this can inform your entire day. So you can ask yourself questions. You can ask questions of your artwork and then you listen for the answers. And the truth, so your head might go around and around about what it is, but the truth, you're practicing building a relationship with your own presence of your own heart, and you'll feel it in your heart. And in sessions, in art therapy sessions, this is what we do, is we may help ask questions to help you, as you're looking at your image, feel the truth of what it really is telling you. So you would say, no, that's not it. Often the truth is something that we don't want to acknowledge, which is why we have to take time to be with it and to really honor the truth. From this, you can do some journaling. Often I will put these up like on my bureau at home or on my desk. And what I like to do is if there is heaviness, I like to also, once I've kind of cleared it and gotten clear with what it represents, I like to take colors and create the colors that I would like to be feeling. And then you can practice tuning into the vibration of that color. And that would be an active meditation too. So maybe I would acknowledge this, but then I might create a new image purely out of yellow. So there's one other piece of this exercise that just came to me that I would like to share. This might be just something good for all of us to do. So once you've cleared, the goal is to clear and be with what came. You don't have to fix it. You're just not hiding from it. So now what I'd like you to do is you're going to close your eyes. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe in through your body, down through your feet, down into the earth. This time as you breathe in, I'd like you to consciously breathe in through your heart space. And as you breathe in, I'd just like you to notice the feeling of openness, which leads to expansion and receptivity. And I'd like you to bring your awareness up to your mind's eye. What I'd like you to imagine doing is, imagine you can like flip a light switch. So we're turning on a light in your mind. And what we're doing is we're actually shining a light on our mind's eye. So I'd like you to see if you can perceive what your mind's eye might look like. What colors it might be, if it's large, if it's small. From a clear mind connected with our grounded presence in our heart, this is the place where we remember that we can actually vision all possibilities. When our mind is open and connected to our heart, we can see clearly, not from a triggered place, but from a very grounded and present place. And we can rise above situations so that we can see the big picture. So when you're ready, those of you that are participating, you can rub your legs, you can open your eyes, and I'm going to invite you to grab the colors, whether you saw them or whether you can feel them as you create, that represent your mind's eye. And I'd like you just to create this archetypal eye on your page or on your canvas. And I'll do that quickly. And what you're doing with working with these more fluid materials is you're representing the essence. So you're letting go of having it be perfect. It's actually more fun to give an essence. And the cool thing about pastels is you can smear them and play with, you can really get your hands in there. So you're grounded in your body. The papers from trees. You know, when you were 5, you were like, oh, these, you know, it's kind of like fun. Like when you were little. And so I also really enjoy allowing, in your meditations, allow images to come in. And actually in my meditations, this archetypal eye has been coming through a lot. And you can consciously work with a symbol and create it. And if you do choose to work with your mind's eye outside of you, what I often have my clients do is, again, you can just use this one, or you can create another artwork to represent this higher vision and hang it somewhere high up, above a doorway, above, you know, where you sit for your meditation. And by looking at this image, it becomes an active meditation. It speaks to your subconscious mind because it is from you, came from your mind. And what it will do is it will, every cell in your body, it speaks to it, and it will remind your body what this feels like. It will remind you to shift into this awareness. So it's just basically a safe place to go when you're feeling cloudy and stuck and lost. You can come sit with your symbol and consciously connect to it, but also just allow it to inform your being and inform your choices moving forward. So this is just a couple different ideas, but I encourage you to just be inspired by whatever came to you today in my sharing to make your own practice.
I love the immediacy of having those pastels. Like you don't have to go get the paint. It doesn't have to be messy. It can be right there at your kitchen table. And that last meditation, I really needed that one. Like,
Oh, nice.
very interesting to go into the mind's eye and see, have a little distance from maybe your heart mind, right? Or what your heart center, your higher knowing, to see what's going on. And at least for me, having a busy analyzer up there, it
Yeah.
was, I, I'm going to continue with that exercise. That was really wonderful.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you make your eye.
That was a beautiful, beautiful demonstration. Thank you. And so, besides that gift that she just gave us, which was awesome, Bodhi has another gift to offer us.
Yeah, so when you go onto my website, which is consciousarttherapy.com, you go into the blog section, and when you put your email in there to sign up for my blog, what will happen is immediately into your inbox will come a tool of creative meditation, and this time it will be working more deeply with the metaphor of the labyrinth. And what'll happen is, if you're interested, if you enjoy what we did today, I often just like to do writings and share different tools and tips of what I'm working on. And so you can kind of be part of my journey along with me. So that was actually the missing piece when I was younger. I didn't know this piece. But the way to unlock our subconscious material that comes through our art is to connect to what it reminds us of, to allow it. That's how it speaks to your intuition, is like even your artwork behind you. So everybody's art speaks to everybody differently. So when you look at that, you might see something different than I do. But when you're looking at your own art or somebody else's art at the museum, you want to allow it to connect to what it reminds you of, and you want to really feel into the movement, the shapes, the colors. And it's not going to speak to you in words, it's going to speak to you in feeling. And just remember, the metaphor is the key. So you're going to say to yourself, okay, where's my thing? All right, what does this remind me of? And literally, we have a whole hour session just on what this reminds you of. And what'll happen is, if you get out of your thinking mind and allow your feeling state and the metaphor to inform you, that so much information will come out. So it can be helpful to do some writing and allow like a free flow, or even to record your voice as you're talking, or totally see an art therapist, of course, because then we can reflect back to you what you said. But often what will happen is, as you allow the metaphor to come through, if you do capture it, often it sounds like poetry, and people are just shocked that that even came out of their mouth, because it's coming from your intuitive place and not from your thinking mind.
I love it. And that to me is what one of the meanings of the presence of art, that gift that it gives you in the
Definitely.
present. Yeah. Yeah. So great. That was a great.
Thank you so much for asking.
Thank you, Bodhi. And thank you everyone for participating, and give us some feedback on, send us pictures, what you drew.
Definitely, please. I would love to see them.
Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful day.
You too.